Ladies, I need you to understand something right now. Just because a man isn't chasing you doesn't mean he doesn't like you. Sometimes the man who likes you the most is the one standing the farthest away. But why? Why would a man genuinely be interested, deeply attracted, maybe even emotionally invested, and still choose not to pursue you? Let's break it down. He's intimidated by you, and that intimidation has nothing to do with arrogance or weakness. It's about perception and self-belief. When a man encounters a woman who carries herself with confidence, who knows what she wants, and who radiates self-assurance, it can shake him more than you think. He sees the way you move, the way you speak, the way you hold your standards, and he instantly realizes you're not someone who can be easily impressed or easily fooled. You carry a presence that commands attention without even trying. And for many men, especially those who are still working through their own insecurities or building their identity, that kind of energy can be overwhelming. He might like you deeply, think about you constantly, and admire everything about you, but instead of stepping forward, he steps back. It's not because he doesn't care, it's because he's afraid of how much he does. When a man meets a woman who embodies everything he's been hoping for, there's a part of him that whispers, "Don't mess this up." That fear alone can paralyze him. He starts overthinking every word, every move, every text he wants to send. He wonders if he's good enough, if he has enough to offer, if he can truly meet your expectations. The irony is that you might not even be judging him, but his mind convinces him that you are. You see, men are taught to pursue, to lead, to be confident, but that's easier said than done when they meet a woman who challenges their definition of confidence. You might represent the type of woman he's always dreamed of: beautiful, emotionally mature, independent, spiritually grounded, or purpose-driven. And when he looks at you, he's reminded of the gap between who he is and who he wants to be. That realization doesn't push him towards you. Sometimes it pushes him into silence. He's thinking, she deserves someone better prepared, someone more stable, someone more sure. He might even disguise his intimidation as indifference. You'll notice he's friendly but distant, warm but cautious. He won't flirt openly, he won't make big moves, and yet you'll feel his energy linger in small ways. His eyes following you when he thinks you're not looking, his tone changing when he talks to you, or how he suddenly goes quiet when your name comes up. Those are subtle signs of a man trying to manage his emotions while pretending they don't exist. There's another layer to this. Men who've worked hard for everything they have often fear rejection more deeply. When a man values his pride, his peace, and his progress, he won't risk rejection unless he's absolutely sure. Because rejection from a woman he admires hits differently. It's not just a bruise to the ego, it's a bruise to the soul. And so rather than risk that pain, he convinces himself that silence is safer. He might also perceive your independence as unapproachability. You might think you're just being focused or selective, but he might interpret that as she doesn't need anyone. And when a man feels like he can't add value to your life, he struggles to find his role in it. Men want to feel needed, wanted, useful. If he can't see a space where his presence enhances your world, he'll hold back, even if his heart tells him to move. What's even more complex is that intimidation isn't always about your success, beauty, or confidence. It's about the emotional energy you carry. You may have healed, grown, and evolved to a level where you operate from peace and clarity. That kind of energy feels powerful, almost spiritual. It exposes where another person still has healing to do. When he stands in your presence, he feels seen, not just by you, but by something deeper. And that level of emotional exposure can make even a strong man hesitate. He admires you, but he's also afraid of what loving you might demand of him. because deep down he knows that to truly have a woman like you, he can't stay the same. He would have to grow, to rise, to confront his fears, and that's not something every man is ready to do. So instead of risking vulnerability, he stays in observation mode, trying to build the courage to match your energy. He thinks you're already taken, and that single assumption can stop him from ever making a move. Men are observant when it comes to attraction, but they're also cautious, especially if they sense potential rejection or embarrassment. When a man genuinely likes you, he pays attention to the little details, how you interact with others, what kind of energy you carry, the tone you use when you talk about your life. If anything about your behavior, your social media, or your daily presence gives the impression that you're already involved with someone, he'll immediately start holding back. To him, it's a sign to respect boundaries, to stay in his lane, to not interfere with what he believes is already claimed. Sometimes it's as simple as your demeanor. You might carry yourself with confidence, grace, and poise, the kind of energy that says, "I'm not looking." That can easily be misread as, "I'm taken." When a woman walks in her peace, she doesn't seek attention, and that lack of pursuit can make men think someone already has her attention. They start assuming that the reason you're so composed and unbothered is because someone is already taking care of you emotionally, mentally, or romantically. The man who's interested in you might admire that energy, but also feel a sense of defeat before he even tries. He's not going to want to put himself in a position where he's competing with another man, real or imagined. Most men don't chase what they believe is unavailable. He's not afraid of effort, but he respects the idea of loyalty, even if it's only perceived. If he believes another man already occupies your heart, he'll tell himself, "I don't want to be that guy." The kind of man who values respect won't interfere with something that looks like a relationship, even if it's just friendship or something casual from your perspective. Your online presence can also play a huge role in this misunderstanding. Maybe you post pictures with male friends, coworkers, or family members. You know what those relationships are, but an outside observer doesn't. All he sees is another man beside you in every photo, another name in every comment, another smiling face next to yours. To him, that signals she's taken. And instead of asking or clarifying, he assumes, because for most men, assuming is safer than risking humiliation. He doesn't want to step forward only to find out you're already emotionally involved elsewhere. Even the way you speak about relationships can shape his assumptions. If you talk about how much you value commitment, how you won't settle, or how you're focused on your peace, he might hear that and think, "She's already got someone who meets that standard." He's not reading between the lines. He's taking your words at face value. Sometimes women unknowingly communicate emotional availability in subtle ways, and men pick up on that. A simple story about a past relationship or mentioning a guy friend one too many times can make a man assume there's already a connection he can't compete with. There's also a pride factor involved. A man who likes you but believes you're taken isn't just staying away out of respect, he's protecting himself. Rejection hurts, but rejection from a woman who's already involved can feel like a deeper kind of embarrassment. It's not just her saying no, it's the situation itself saying you were out of line. So instead of risking that, he chooses to admire you quietly. He watches from a distance, keeps his feelings to himself, and maybe tells himself that if it's meant to be, the opportunity will present itself later. Sometimes he even tries to test the waters subtly. He might make small talk, drop light compliments, or joke about relationships just to see how you respond. If your answers don't clearly show that you're single, he takes that as confirmation that you're unavailable. He's not going to push further because in his mind, a real man doesn't chase what's already claimed. This hesitation isn't about a lack of courage. It's about perception and respect. Men don't always approach from logic. They approach from what they have believed to be true. And when that belief tells them you're already taken, no amount of attraction can override the thought that it's simply not their place to pursue. He's not where he wants to be yet, and that truth weighs heavily on him. A man who genuinely likes you but chooses not to pursue you is often battling an internal struggle between desire and readiness. He sees your value, he recognizes the kind of woman you are, and he knows that stepping into your life would require him to show up at his best. That awareness becomes both motivation and pressure. He doesn't want to offer you fragments of himself when he knows you deserve wholeness. He doesn't want to invite you into a chapter of his life that still feels incomplete. For a man who takes pride in his potential, it's easier to step back than to risk disappointing you. When a man feels like his finances aren't in order, his purpose isn't defined, or his life lacks structure, it affects his confidence more than he'll ever admit. Men often tie their sense of worth to their ability to provide, protect, and lead. If he can't yet stand firm in those roles, he won't feel ready to pursue someone he respects. He'll tell himself that love requires stability, and until he has that stability, he has no business chasing it. You might see potential in him, you might believe he's enough as he is, but he has to believe it for himself. Without that internal validation, your reassurance won't change his behavior. He wants to be able to take you out without worrying about the bill, to plan for the future without financial stress hovering over him, to show up for you without the distraction of unfinished goals. It's not pride, it's purpose. A man who truly values you doesn't want to come to you as a burden. He wants to come as a blessing. He wants to be the kind of man who adds peace to your life, not one who takes from it. So he waits, even if that waiting costs him a chance with you. This hesitation isn't about you not being worth the effort. It's about him not feeling worthy of you yet. He sees your ambition, your consistency, your discipline, and it reminds him of the areas where he's still trying to grow. That comparison doesn't diminish his feelings, it amplifies them, but it also triggers self-doubt. He starts questioning, if I can't even get my own life in order, how can I manage a relationship with a woman like her? That internal dialogue becomes the reason he distances himself, not because he doesn't want you, but because he doesn't want to fail you. He may even convince himself that avoiding you is an act of protection. In his mind, pursuing you prematurely could lead to conflict, disappointment, or heartbreak down the road. He'd rather miss out on love than risk being the man who lets you down. It's a quiet, self-sacrificial kind of love, the kind that says, I'll step back now so I can step forward later when I'm ready. But the problem is, sometimes later never comes because life keeps throwing new challenges his way, and he keeps postponing his happiness until he feels perfect. A man in this mindset might still show you small signs of affection. He might check in occasionally, like your posts, or find subtle reasons to cross your path. Those are his ways of staying connected without committing. He's keeping the door open while he works on himself behind the scenes. But make no mistake, his silence doesn't mean indifference. It's the silence of a man who feels the weight of responsibility. He's focused on building, on becoming, on fixing the pieces of his life that don't align with the vision he has for his future. You're part of that vision, but right now he's still laying the foundation. And for a man who takes his future seriously, foundation matters more than desire. He believes that real love deserves preparation, not improvisation. So he waits until he can look you in the eyes and say, I'm ready, without doubt, without hesitation, and without fear that he's not enough. He's unsure if you like him back, and that uncertainty can keep him completely still. Men might appear confident, bold, and fearless, but when it comes to matters of the heart, even the strongest man can hesitate when he's unsure how a woman feels about him. Attraction for men often carries a layer of vulnerability they rarely show. The thought of putting himself out there, risking rejection, or misreading your signals can feel more threatening than staying silent. So instead of pursuing you directly, he analyzes your every move, trying to read between lines that may not even exist. When a man likes you but can't tell if the feeling is mutual, he goes into overthinking mode. He replays conversations, he studies your body language, he notices the tone in your voice when you say his name. He's looking for signs, anything that confirms you might feel the same way. But when those signs aren't clear, he hesitates. A man might admire your smile, your energy, the way you carry yourself, but if your attitude toward him feels neutral or distant, he'll assume you're not interested. Even if you're just shy or reserved, he may interpret that as rejection. Men crave clarity, and when they can't find it, they often retreat to protect their pride. Some men don't pursue because they've been down this road before. They've liked someone who didn't feel the same, and that rejection still echoes in their mind. Once a man experiences emotional rejection, even subtle ones, he becomes cautious. He learns to test the waters before diving in, and if the water feels cold or uncertain, he pulls back. It's not that he doesn't want you, it's that he's afraid of reliving that sting. You might not even realize how your small reactions shape his perception. A missed glance, a short reply, or a distracted tone might register as disinterest, even if you're simply having an off day. This is why some men prefer to wait for a clear signal before making a move. They want to know that their efforts will be welcomed, that their energy won't go to waste. Because when a man truly likes a woman, the risk feels bigger. He's not afraid of flirting with someone he doesn't care about, but when it's you, when it's someone he sees potential in, he wants to approach with confidence, not confusion. The unknown can be paralyzing. It's not that he lacks courage, it's that he doesn't want to misstep and lose what could have been something meaningful. He might even tell himself stories to justify his hesitation. He'll think, if she liked me, she'd make it more obvious, or she's too focused on her own life right now. These thoughts become his shield, protecting him from the vulnerability of trying. Meanwhile, he continues to notice you in subtle ways, your laugh, your presence, the way you light up a room. But he convinces himself that you don't notice him back. That belief alone is enough to keep him silent. Men read more into energy than words. He's not just listening to what you say, he's feeling how you respond. Do you engage with him? Do you initiate conversation? Do your eyes linger a second longer? These small gestures are what signal to a man that it's safe to approach. When they're missing, he assumes the door is closed. He might still admire you, still respect you, but he'll hold that admiration quietly rather than risk an unwelcome advance. For men, confidence in pursuit is tied to perception of reciprocity. If he senses that the energy isn't mutual, his instincts tell him to step back. Because in his mind, there's nothing worse than being the one who cares more, who tries harder, who's left wondering why his interest wasn't returned. That kind of vulnerability is something many men avoid at all costs. So he keeps his feelings tucked away, telling himself it's better to admire you from a distance than to face the possibility that you don't feel the same. Sometimes, all he needs is a small green light, a smile that lingers, a compliment that feels genuine, or a moment of attention that tells him, you're seen. But until he gets that, he stays quiet. Not because he lacks interest, but because uncertainty feels heavier than rejection itself. He's been hurt before, and that pain still shapes the way he loves, even when he tries to hide it. You see, a man's heart doesn't always heal in visible ways. Sometimes the scars are buried deep beneath his calm demeanor, behind the jokes, the focus on work, the silence he uses as armor. When a man has experienced betrayal, heartbreak, or emotional disappointment, it changes how he approaches connection. It teaches him caution. It teaches him distance. It makes him believe that even genuine love can turn into pain if he's not careful. So when he meets someone who stirs real feelings in him again, someone who makes his walls shake, he doesn't run toward it. He pauses. Because to open his heart again means reopening old wounds he's not sure he's ready to face. He remembers what it felt like to give everything to someone who didn't handle it with care. He remembers the sleepless nights, the unanswered messages, the slow unraveling of trust. He remembers how it felt to be vulnerable, only to have that vulnerability used against him. That kind of pain doesn't just fade, it rewires a man's understanding of love. He learns to protect himself, to analyze every situation, to move cautiously even when his heart is pulling him forward. So when he meets you and he feels that familiar spark, the emotions he thought were gone start to rise again, but so does the fear. The fear that it could all go wrong again. The fear that this story will end like the last one. When he's been hurt before, love doesn't feel light anymore, it feels heavy. Every word, every gesture, every emotion carries weight. He questions motives. He doubts timing. He wonders if what he's feeling is real or just another setup for disappointment. He wants to trust you, but trust isn't a switch he can flip. It's something he has to rebuild one layer at a time. And until that trust feels solid, he'll hold himself back. Not because he doesn't want you, but because he's protecting the little piece he's managed to rebuild. For him, peace has become more valuable than connection because peace doesn't leave when people do. You might sense his hesitation and mistake it for disinterest, but in reality, he's doing emotional math in his head. He's calculating the risk. If I let her in, will she leave? If I show her who I am, will she still stay? If I give her my heart, will she handle it differently than the last one did? Those questions echo in his mind, not because of you, but because of what he's already endured. Pain changes how a person sees love. It makes them require reassurance, consistency, and patience in ways they might never verbalize. For a man who's been hurt, control becomes his coping mechanism. He'll want to take things slow, not because he's unsure about you, but because moving too fast reminds him of how easily things once fell apart. He may distance himself at moments when he actually feels closer to you, simply because closeness feels like danger. Love, for him, is both what he wants and what he fears. The same emotions that draw him in are the ones that make him pull back. It's a constant battle between desire and defense. He notices how kind you are, how different you seem, and that scares him even more. Because deep down, he knows that if you really are genuine, if you really do care, then he'll have to let his guard down to experience that love fully. And letting his guard down means giving you access to the parts of him that were once broken. That level of vulnerability feels like standing unprotected in a storm he's not sure he can survive again. So he hides behind logic. He tells himself he's busy, that it's not the right time, that he's focused on his goals. Those excuses are his emotional armor, keeping his heart safe behind a wall of reasoning. But inside, there's still a man who feels deeply, who wants connection, who just doesn't know if his heart is ready to risk another break. He looks at you and feels both hope and fear at the same time, torn between the part of him that wants to believe again and the part that still remembers what it cost him the last time he did. He's testing the connection, trying to see if what he feels for you is mutual or just one-sided. For many men, especially those who have matured through experience. Emotional investment isn't something they give freely anymore. They move with intention. They observe before they act, and they test before they commit. When a man genuinely likes you, he wants to be sure that the connection between you is real, not based on surface attraction or fleeting chemistry. So instead of rushing to pursue, he studies the dynamic. He watches how you respond to his presence, how you engage in conversation, how consistent your energy is. He's not playing games, he's protecting his peace. He's learned that not everyone who smiles at you is truly for you, and he wants to know what kind of energy he's dealing with before he opens his heart. He might take small steps to see how you respond, sending a simple message, complimenting you lightly, asking subtle questions that reveal your mindset. Every move he makes is a quiet test. He's not testing you out of manipulation. He's testing to see if your intentions align with his. He wants to know if you communicate with depth or just flirt for attention. He wants to see if you're consistent or if your interest fades when he doesn't chase. These are the silent measures he uses to protect himself from pouring into something that won't pour back. Because a man who's learned the value of emotional effort understands that love requires balance, not just pursuit. This kind of man has likely experienced one-sided effort before. He's been the one to chase, to initiate, to give, and to be left wondering if it even mattered. That experience makes him move slower now, more thoughtfully. When he interacts with you, he's gauging the level of reciprocity. Do you make time for him, or does he always have to reach out first? Do you ask about his day, or is it always him asking about yours? Do you show appreciation, or do you just receive his energy without acknowledgement? Every small detail tells him something about your interest, and he's taking notes silently. Sometimes he might pull back intentionally just to see if you notice. It's not about control, it's about clarity. If he withdraws and you don't react, he takes that as a sign that the connection might not mean as much to you as it does to him. But if you reach out, check in, or show concern, that's confirmation for him. It tells him that your energy is real, that you're not just there for the attention, but for the connection. Men may not always say it, but they value effort deeply. They notice when a woman matches their energy, when she initiates too, when she makes space for them instead of waiting to be pursued endlessly. When he's testing the connection, his silence doesn't mean disinterest. It's a form of observation. He's paying attention to how you treat him when there's no pressure, how you respond when he's not doing the most, because that's where authenticity shows. A man who's emotionally aware understands that love built on chasing fades quickly, but love built on mutual recognition lasts longer. He wants something real, something that doesn't depend on games or constant validation. So he takes his time, letting the connection reveal itself naturally. You may notice moments where his energy shifts. One day he's warm, the next he's quiet. That's part of the process. He's balancing emotion with logic, attraction with discernment. He's asking himself, does she value me for who I am or for what I give? He's looking for cues that you're equally invested. This slow, deliberate pace can be confusing, especially if you're used to men who rush in quickly. But this man isn't rushing because he's serious. He wants to build something grounded, not impulsive. He's not trying to make you prove yourself. He's trying to see if the connection can breathe without pressure. He believes that if it's genuine, it won't need to be forced. The more he observes you responding with patience, care, and authenticity, the more confident he becomes that what he's feeling is real. He's testing not to judge, but to understand. Because for him, love isn't just about attraction, it's about alignment. It's not God's timing yet, and that truth can be difficult, to accept, especially when the chemistry is real and the emotions are strong. There are moments when two people can cross paths, feel something undeniable, and still not be meant to move forward at that moment. When a man genuinely likes you but doesn't pursue you, sometimes it's not hesitation or fear, it's alignment. He might sense that pursuing you now would mean building something before the foundation is ready. Timing, to a man with self-awareness and spiritual grounding, is everything. He understands that love isn't just about attraction or connection. It's about being in the right season to handle it. He might admire you, care for you, and even pray about you, but he also knows that stepping into something before he's prepared can damage what could have been beautiful later. When a man is in tune with his purpose, he becomes conscious of divine timing. He sees life not just as random moments, but as chapters designed for growth. If he's still healing, learning, or building, he'll recognize that bringing someone into his process prematurely could cause unnecessary pain. He may look at you and think, "She's everything I've prayed for," but deep down, he feels that his current season isn't equipped to sustain that kind of connection. Maybe he's still trying to find his footing in his career, his faith, or his sense of self. Maybe he's carrying responsibilities that demand his focus. Maybe God is still teaching him lessons he needs to learn alone. Whatever the reason, he feels that pursuing you right now could mean interrupting the preparation that's meant to make him ready for the kind of love he wants to give. For a man like this, restraint isn't rejection, it's obedience. It's choosing patience over impulse. He understands that love birthed out of timing, not maturity, can lead to chaos. You might see potential, but he sees process. You might feel ready, but he's aware that being ready for love isn't just about wanting it. It's about being able to sustain it. He might be growing spiritually, mentally, or emotionally, and that growth takes space. Pursuing you too soon might mean loving you from a place of lack instead of abundance. So he waits, trusting that what's meant for him won't require force. There's also the spiritual weight of preparation. Sometimes God withholds certain connections until both people have become who they need to be. If one person is still healing from their past and the other is still defining their purpose, bringing them together too early can create imbalance. He might feel that pull toward you, but he also senses that God is saying, "Not yet." And that "not yet" is often the hardest answer to accept because it feels like loss when it's really preservation. The waiting isn't punishment, it's alignment. You may not realize it, but men who are spiritually aware pay attention to signs, to energy, to peace. They don't just chase what feels good, they chase what feels right. If he's not pursuing you, it could be because something in his spirit tells him the timing is off. He knows that when timing is wrong, even the right person can turn into the wrong experience. So he chooses stillness over urgency, trusting that the same God who put the connection on his heart will make the path clear when it's time. During this waiting period, he might focus more on his growth, his mission, and his responsibilities. It's not that he's forgotten you. It's that he's preparing to meet you at the level you deserve. He's building the structure that can hold the kind of love he wants to give. He knows that rushing into something without spiritual and emotional readiness can lead to frustration, miscommunication, and missed potential. Timing requires patience, and patience requires faith. Sometimes timing separates two people not to end their story, but to refine them. He understands that if he's meant to be with you, he'll cross your path again when both of you are aligned. Right now, he might be focused on becoming the version of himself that can love you with clarity and strength. He's not ignoring what he feels, he's honoring it by giving it time to mature. Because when something is truly divine, it doesn't need to be chased, It unfolds when both hearts are ready. It's not always in his pursuit, it's in his energy. He shows up with consistency. He respects your space, but still makes his care known. He listens when you speak. He pays attention. Even if he's holding back for one of these reasons, you'll feel his presence. And when the right moment comes, when he's healed, confident, ready, and aligned, he won't hesitate because a real man doesn't let what's meant for him pass him by. So don't chase, don't beg, don't force. Be in your peace, be in your glow, because when a man truly wants you, when the time, the purpose, and the hearts align, you won't have to question it. You'll just know.